like when they put together a team of singers, the Temptations, the Miracles, and all of them, and they go around the country, and they do what they do. Well, that comes out of the old circuit of revivals. They used to have one preacher could invite you to another preacher. They still have them, in fact. They still have revivals all the time. A big preacher from out of town gonna come and help with a fundraiser or something, and it's gonna be a revival. And they got flyers at all the churches, and big time so and so gonna be there. Okay, so Dr. Franklin, or C.L. Franklin, whatever, he was big in his time, in the 50s. He was close to the biggest preacher in the country. He was right up there with Martin Luther King. He could preach as good as Martin Luther King, all of that stuff. So in the I guess you'd call it the Northeast, his radio program, it was big, and he did a lot of good. Anyway, the point was the picture that they portray on him in these new movies stuff, it's not accurate at all. Especially the part related to his relationship with Dr. King. They mention in some of these new movies about Aretha Franklin, about her father, but they portray, from what I've seen so far, they portray him as a total hypocrite, a womanizer. Not that he's a preacher now, he's not an imam, so those things are not abnormal. What preacher? Adam Clayton Powell. Just name anybody who wasn't. Martin Luther King, the king himself. Messy Jesse, everybody, right? That's a part of, not that I have friends, but with one of my good friends from Oakland. He's older than we are. He's a good preacher. I mean, he's a real, and so we was talking about like when I became an imam, he was really happy about it. He was really happy about it because, for him it was involved in religion, and he came by our Masjid once or twice. And he said, when I visited some of those mosques in Jerusalem, he went to Jerusalem, of course, and so he visited. He said they don't just like this. They don't have pews, because see, for them, the pews is about the biggest thing in the church. I mean, those pews are expensive. They're expensive, and it'll have on the back, this was donated by the down the street family. This is donated by the up the street family. This is a community. Those things are expensive. So when you don't have no pews in your place, to them, well, what do you do here? What are you going to do? You know what I mean? No, if you ain't got no place for the fan, when it get hot, then they got to pull out the fan and the hymnals, and the days before air conditioning, the old black church was a good experience. I mean, I'm telling you, it was an experience. It was, let's call it salvation entertainment. It served the whole community function, because that's the only place you could be yourself. That's where you could go and now we're going to be black here, right? because when you went on your job, half of the women, if you see old movies, you see all the people that come to the door are black people. The maids are black. All that. That is actually true, especially from the 50s on back. It was still like that in the 60s, but in the 50s on back, all of the people had maids, butlers, and they was all black. I mean, a few people might have had one or two white maids, but they didn't, Anyway, so all of the music in the black community, when Ray Charles did the crossover to a religious sound a little bit, they was arguing with him and what have you. But all our big people, Sam Cooke, and all those people, almost everybody, Aretha Franklin, you name it, most of them came out of the church or came through the church. Some of our greatest, I don't care, man, you would be shocked with the amount if you was making a study of how many black entertainers, especially in the old days, came through the church, even now. That's where they come from. Okay, so the difference between spiritual behavior and secular behavior in the black community and music was very close, except for certain kinds. Like we had old Mississippi blues with the guitar and one singer that just, or maybe a harmonica. They wasn't that religious because all they sung about was whiskey and women. That's what they just whiskey and women. That's all they sung about. But you have to remember that in the black community, it was totally supported. The church was totally supported by women, mostly. And all the men, the old deacons and all that used to be giving advice. Oh, nigga, you don't know nothing about nothing. And then you realize that the old men in the church, they went out and did their hustling stuff, and and just before they died, they was in the church. No, the big ones. Have you ever heard of the Ward Brothers? Yeah, but the movie, you see the Mac? You saw the Mac. Okay, the Mac. The two brothers that got the Mac Award of that year was Ted Ward and Willie Ward. Do you remember those scenes when they in the club and they get the right? Okay. Both of them, Ted got the Holy Ghost so bad you couldn't talk to him. Right? And Willie Ward, he went to Roosevelt's church. My friend, the last time I saw Willie Ward was at the church. In fact, the only time I saw him was at the church. I mean, I never saw him nowhere else but the church. So out of those four brothers, and probably they got that was the culture. You did out and did wrong all your life, and then y'all probably don't remember, it was a certain record called Going Down Slow. That mean, it used to be a thing, if you see my mother, tell her to pray for me, and all of that stuff. That mean he done went all around and did all the stuff that he did, and he going down slow. He's sick. He's getting old. That's the way they talk. I'm going down slow. And so if you listen to him, that they did things that even kings and queens never did. You know, they done lived it up. And they say, I may not have been a millionaire, but I done had more money than a millionaire. In other words, they lived what was called the fast life in the black community. Okay. Now, a lot of our greatest people come out of that environment. This lecture by Dr. C.L. Franklin was a lecture that I could give, or I have given the same lecture. When I had that run-in Oakland and I'm standing there bleeding and I'm telling my son, they said, we're going to fix it. I said, absolutely not. And then I gave a few things about why. Well, I picked that up a long time ago. I did it naturally because in all the prisons I was in, I was kind of like a little black leader. And then if we had riots, I would kind of like not lead them, but people would remember I was there, you know. Even in the riot of 64, yeah. I jumped up on the boxing ring in the field house and yelled, charge, all that kind of stuff. In the iron pile, we rushed the white boys. They were smart. They wouldn't got to iron. Because a field house, you know, a field house is like a big outdoor gymnasium. You got basketball courts, boxing ring, the big screen, and, you know, and for movies, everything. Because some places in certain prisons, at least modern ones, you couldn't go outside during fog line or go to the yard at certain times. So you go to the field house. The field house would be open. But the point is this, is that during the times that when they talk about the 60s and the 50s, Dr. C.L. Franklin is portrayed as a plain hustler, low-life womanizer. They don't have nothing like the lecture that he gave on there. The lecture that he gave is as close to black nationalism as you can get. But they never portray him. He's trying to give them a Christian version of don't go overboard to it, but this is what it is. Black power. Black power is this. And he starts off by mentioning one of the queens of Ethiopia or something like that. You know, so he's aware of black people in the Bible. All of that. Okay? So the point is that according to listening to that, I was very inspired because it justifies and it reminds us about what we're doing. And he talked about one of our friends, when he talked about where Dr. King had got his stuff. And Dr. King had got that stuff on Black Power from Willie Ricks. You ain't heard nobody in the United States mention Willie Ricks except here. Do anybody kind of remember Willie Ricks? If you was remembering, Willie Ricks. Willie Ricks was the one, he came to Oakland a few times when I was an imam. He might be passed away right now. But Willie Ricks was the one that was with all the brothers in those days, a black leader. And he's the one that coached Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, to come up. You could hear him in the background. This is in 68. He's saying, go on, say it. And so at first, he comes up and he's talking to the people, got them fired up. And then he says, Willie Ricks, you can hear him in the background. Go on, say it. It's Black Power. Go on, say it. Black power. And pretty soon, see, everybody associates Kwame Ture with coming out with black power, but it was Willie Ricks. And Martin Luther King had researched that, and Martin Luther King had wrote about it in his book. And this is 1969 when that came out. Okay, Dr. King passed in 68. All right, he was assassinated in 68. So things were moving very fast, just like in the world we're in right today. Things are moving very fast. Something that was big last month, 2 months ago, it's important, but things are moving in the Islamic world. And Dr. C.L. Franklin, I think that was C.L., he was a big preacher at that time. He might have been one of the biggest in America. He was on the radio, he had albums, and what have you. I mean, from back in the 50s, The point is that the discussion of black power in there was the same discussion that we have. We learned the lesson. I had never heard that lecture before. I just never heard the lecture, and I never read it in any book, but I picked up on, from being black orientated, that this is a danger to the black community way back then. That's why our organization was the biggest and most effective in Oakland. And I said to one of my brothers that died a little while back, I say, we never even beat nobody up. Now all these they be shooting each other down and everything. East Oakland Enterprises, we never even beat nobody up. He said, yeah, well, we was ready. Now half of them come from the Black Panther Party, half of them, and I told them, you want to do something for black people, you do this. And actually, technically, we did more. We did more physically. And when we left the country, we did stuff directly for the Black Panther Party. And we did a few things that are unmentionable there in Oakland. So this concept, I was really happy to hear that. It was about the country Negro against the city Negro. You know what I mean? All the different intellectual Negroes against the slow Negroes. That's not exactly, but that's what it meant. In other words, it was like his talk was very close to, what was that flyer years ago about this plan in Virginia to divide up Negroes? The guy, the white guy, Lynch. That's right. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't make no difference. It seems like it is. But he told them, he said, you're going to hang all your property up and, waste all that, they won't be able to work. So here's what you do. You get them focused on each other. You get the wide-nosed ones, hating the ones with pointed nose, our children. That's not what he said, but that's what he meant. The light ones against the dark ones, right? The house Negroes against the field Negroes. Them niggas in the house, they don't do no work. We do all the work, right? It's the same thing that Dr. Franklin said, and it's the same thing that we recognized years ago, that if you want to be big, that's how we got so big in the gangster world, because we incorporated everybody. You want to do, like now, people be fighting over, this is my block, this is my, we say, shoot, you get all the money you want to on that block. That block don't belong to me, right? Now here's what we do. I said, let's do like the white folks do. They have a big supplier, and you compete with each other on price and quality, right? So if you want a better quality, you might at a reasonable price, you might choose Giant over Safeway, or, something like that, right? So they both in the same business line and puffing up the food, you know what I mean, and messing it up, you know what I mean, sprinkling lemon juice on the meat to turn it back red, all kind of little stuff. They do the same thing, but they don't blast each other, right? Right? They compete with each other, and way off in the future, the concentration of wealth, the concentration of resources, one of them is going to buy the other out, right? And as they get on down the line, the concentration of wealth, the last two big giants, whoever they are, one going to buy the other one out. Or they'll leave it like it is to have different, to give people a phony choice. Now, you got a choice. You can go over here, they both mine, but you can go over there, and get what they got, right? And they'll think, oh, it's different and everything. So in the black community, we had a unique experience, especially at that time, and I really enjoyed listening to that lecture. But the whole idea was the same thing. Whether it's black people or Muslims, do not let people divide you up. Even the Negroes that do something to us and they Muslim, well, it's okay. And they do it right in front of you, you don't have to go look for them to figure out who did it or who's doing it. They do it in front of your face. You know what I mean? Say, yeah. And they got boss man behind them, and they want you to be mad at them. We're not going to do that. And we'll get into that talk right now. And in starting, we just want to make dua to ask Allah's help and guidance, and to thank Allah. First is thanking Allah for longevity, the ability to expect certain things, and the ability to act on certain things. This is all a blessing from Allah. As Martin Luther King said in his last speech, longevity has its place. And so we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this longevity. And we thank Allah for the ability to hold on to such a period of time to where we can change all of the defeats into victories. And we thank Allah for being an example to humanity, to the Muslims, first of all, then, of course, to our tribal affiliation, which is colored, and to all the other struggling peoples of the world. That there are ways to defeat systems. And we'll talk about that a little later, whether it be blockade running and all of that. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sabr. The Quran refers to it as a sabru jamilan, a beautiful patience. And the hadith that says, as-sabru wa nifsul iman, patience is half of faith. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the ability to hold on with the attitude of protractedness. If you remember, those are the 2 points we always talked about: protracted struggle, which the idea protracted struggle comes from Chairman Mao and what have you, in his selected works. But our protracted struggle have technically outlasted theirs. Their protracted struggle, if they started the Communist Party in 1921, that's what they were celebrating. So 21, 31, 41, 51, 1950, that was 30 years. We have been practicing a protracted struggle for 50 years or more. The first part in Jahiliyyah, and the last 40, 42 years strictly Islamic. And that protractedness gives you the ability to go through the process of repetition. Repetition means it's like reading the Quran. You read it one time and you're getting all that stuff from it. You read it again, you're getting all that repetition, and you're getting something out of it every time. When you live life experiences, you're never at the end of the line where you say, I got all of this, I got this down pat. No, because every experience that we have up to this morning, every one of them adds on to the whole process of living that we've been involved in. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. We thank Allah that we're here. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for discombobulating the white man. And we couldn't do that, but Allah can. The man is confused. The man is bumping into everything that you can see, right? We asked Allah for that. Now, we also asked Allah that we could be the one talker, the trash talker. That's what we asked Allah. Oh, Allah, let us do this now. And Allah evidently gave us the permission. Yeah, gave us the permission to sell wolf tickets. The boss man and every last one of them come out. And I mean, even if we ask Allah, oh Allah, let us make a fool out of the white man. Right? And probably everybody remember that. Oh Allah, make the world laugh at this peck of wood. Just have them rolling in the aisles. What are they doing now? They're looking at boss men and say, what's wrong with America? Right? What's happening? You know, what's going? It don't make sense. You know, nothing makes sense, and it's all. Everybody is. Wait a minute. We just brought you in, old slow year, to do such and such a thing, and now you're doing worse than the dummy, right? You're doing worse than the old red-headed man, whatever his name was. And nobody could do worse than him, but you, right? You can imagine. This guy, I mean, the news, and we thank Allah for this. See, you got to remember, the timing, the association, you and I couldn't put this thing together. Neither could a group of people organize it. A group of people could not organize, okay, the Chinese and the Russians and a few Negroes here, we're going to get together. We're going to hook up this program and run boss man crazy. You could mess up some little thing, one or two things, but he can counter that. He cannot, something is wrong. He cannot counter nothing. And if it's anything stupid to do, he'll do it right now. If he went around 2 weeks ago, well, actually, 3 or 4 months, to NATO and say, we back, we with you, we da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, we down with you. And they said, hip, hip, hooray, right? And we thank Allah for turning him into the biggest, stupidest liar in world history. To where he'll go over, he got a deal, the French got a deal, right? The same French that got him out of hot water when he was over here at Yorktown. Right? Blocked off the whole thing and burned the British and helped them. Tocqueville, whatever his name was coming over here writing about the great American spirit from France. Right? From France. And France having a little economic thing, you know, where they're mad at it, it wouldn't be that we're going to sell Australia, whoever does a few subs, right? And here he come. You can't do that deal. We got to go against China, and then we going up and we going to have them built. They're going to be built by 2045 or something, right? They want, what do you need? What they'll have zoop, 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 zoop stuff going on by then. They won't have you, right? They're not going to build them next week or next month. And the French already had the whole, they done invested in the shipyard. Yeah, man, we fixed to have at least $4 or $5. We ain't going to get rich. Right? And boss man come in, and now everybody mad at him. You and I can't hook that up. He has to be so delirious and so short-sighted that he does it to himself. That's what we ask. Oh Allah, run boss man crazy. And he run himself crazy. We didn't do that. We're just taking credit for it. That's what we asked for, right? That's why these dua are important. There's no barrier between the dua of the oppressed and Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Guess who we are? We're oppressed. We're oppressed not by the white man, not by the Negro, not by just the Muslims. We're oppressed by each and every last one of them, all together. They're all on team number one, the idiot team. Against who? Poor us. Everybody, the FBI, CIA, all of them on that team, right? So is ISNA, ICNA, and everybody else, right? So is this place around the corner, that place around the corner, over across town. Everybody is on that team, right? Against us. And we're the only ones been right about anything. Not only just right. And like, see, right now, they might tell you, well, we're going to wear you down, wear us down my behind. You're not doing nothing. You know why? Our accuracy has picked up. The closer we get to the day, the more accurate we've become. Seem like when you get old and all gray-headed and all that stuff, you ought to start slipping a little. That's not happening. We're getting more accurate. We're doing off better, and we are more deceptive. I'll try to put this together. More deceptive, everything boss man do is just running to the ground. I tell you. So this morning when I woke up, last night when I went to sleep, I took a big thick towel and I put it over my pillow, And so when I woke up this morning, I was full of fire and fired up. Now yesterday when I saw you, I had been laying on that same pillow and high as a kite, delirious, and go to sleep, just, it's no problem. You got to remember, y'all think about it. When we was up on the house doing the roof, remember boss man was doing stuff then because I couldn't hardly get up the ladder. And if I did, in fact, if I remember right, I was rocking so much that when I was up on the roof, if I made a move, all of y'all would, right? I mean, because you could tell something was wrong, right? My balance was off. My balance is not off now. Why is my balance off then? Because boss man playing around. Okay, I can't tell you how happy I am about Boss Man and his actions. Good God Almighty. I'll just do like today. So today, well, we got down. We said we'd come at 2:30, whatever it was. But now, that's because I was running a little test. So I took a little drink of something that was in there, and guess what? Fact is supposed to wake me up. The coffee, and I talked about this the other day. So I said, I'm not going to sit here and fight this. I'm just going to go on, lay down, and write notes. When I'm laying down, I reach over and I'm writing these notes. So when Boss Man puts you in a knockout type of situation, it doesn't dull your intellect. It does your awakeness for, and they figure what we'll do is we'll get this nigga something to slow him down. Right? So every now and then if I go to my favorite coffee thing and I juiced up and they see you there writing and they say this is too positive for them. So they go back to an old program. When I used to be in the office right there, it was over 20 years ago, there's a type of coffee I bought. And it have a nice little, an Egyptian type coffee. You have a lot of juice. Nobody else would like it, but the juice, when I drink it, it's like cocaine, drinking cocaine. Like Maxwell House coffee, that cheap coffee, but you be just, so I didn't like that type thing, So when you drink different coffees, you got one, it's like a high. It's like different marijuanas, I don't like that. That's all right. Oh, they're all good, but I like that one right there. And then there's number 2, there's number 3. So right now, I was doing the number 2 that I like. Because I go down there yesterday and get number 1 what I like, and all of a sudden, boop. So I said, okay. But remember, it's no problem. Here's why. Whatever Boss Man do, you're going to adjust yourself to what he does so that you can get the best out of what's going on. And you get a chance to fool him. So pretty soon, there's nothing he can do. He believes if he can keep you in the bed all day, you can't run around and do like you do and fix this and fix that, right? So you give him that. You say, go ahead, Boss Man. But at the same time, everything that he do to you, you're getting more accurate. He don't understand that. He thinks if he can keep you just laying down all day almost. Well, I don't want to do that. Sure. You're laying there and you're writing notes. And actually you're becoming more efficient and more effective. Just think about it. The lectures we've been doing here, are they more efficient and are they more effective? Are they more timely? If you had to wait for 6 months or a year for something to happen some years ago, how quick does it come out now? Say today, tomorrow, you can almost wait for the news, right? That's what's happening right now. That's what's happening this minute. What I'm saying, we're visibly living through a period where we whooping Boss Man so many ways, and all of them have something to do with color. But there's some things that pertain to the world that we're telling the world to do, or not telling them what to do, but making serious hints, and we've been making those hints. Last week, the ship from Iran to Syria, and then they rolled into Lebanon with truckload after truckload of petrol. When it's getting ready to, so they can keep the hospitals open, they can keep all the thing open. You could tell Lebanon have been on the thing. You could tell that thing blew up in the doggone harbor and blew Lebanon to bits. It just blew it to bits. There's another ship almost there today, coming from Iran, loaded with what people are going to need in Lebanon. The government don't get the credit. The government is mad. The U.S. don't get the credit because the U.S. is mad, right? All of them is mad at Iran, Syria, all of those is blockade running. It's blockade running that they've taken what they need in in Lebanon, which Lebanon used to be a part of Syria, but after Sykes-Picot, it was a long time ago, 1920, it was 100 years ago, in fact. After World War I, the French, they gave Lebanon to France and other stuff, and England took parts of Iraq and all of that. Anyway, that's not the problem. Here's the problem. It's not the problem. It's the solution. The solution is that they're doing certain types of blockade running that they need to replicate all over the region. It's the time for it because the calendar, everything is saying it's the time. Do y'all remember I mentioned the Berlin Blockade, 1949? So the Russians closed everything. Berlin was separated into four parts. The French got a part, the British got a part, the Russians got a part, and the English got a part. So the Russians was acting funny in there, so the Americans did the Berlin Blockade running. They sent them C-47s all over, and they would just drop candy bars to the kids, packages of food and everything, because Berlin was starving to death. And they called it the Berlin Blockade. You can probably find it on there. So anyway, Berlin Blockade, 1949. That was a strategy. Now, we have Yemen, and Yemen is not in the Persian Gulf. Yemen is on the other side. And then there's the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea on one side, and then the Arabian Sea. All right. I'm just imagining, I haven't looked up what the coastline is, but it's hundreds and hundreds of miles of borderline on the seashore. So now it's time for blockade running on a higher level. Some of Yemen is over in the Red Sea area, like on the other side, the Gulf of Aden or whatever. You might as well call it the Red Sea. Some of the big cities are over there. Hadramaut and Sana'a, they're over there. But this whole coastline over here. So we said this before, but we're more determined about it now. So now, blockade running means simply this. All of the Muslim countries that want to donate medicine, food, and all that should send it to certain people that they know are going to handle it right. I mean, shiploads of it. And then there's other people with speedboats that have just the characteristics that they need. I want you to just imagine those ships are like motherships out there on the ocean, right? And all these ships are coming, all these speedboats are coming and loading up all day long till that ship is empty. And all of them are not attacking the coast, but they're hitting it. There's no military in the world that could stop them boats. There's too many. That's why Iran they're ready for that, because they called it swarming. From 40 years ago almost, them big ships, big oil tankers, Iran used to ride up to them boys and take a rocket grenade launcher and shoot at them. Yeah, that's what they did. They didn't have nothing else in those days. But here's where we're coming from on this. There's always alternative strategies to have. At one time, the pictures I showed you yesterday, a day before, about poison gas and Iranians in trenches, that was World War I warfare. Why did they fight it? Because they didn't have time when that war hit them, they didn't have time to do nothing. So they had to use what they had, okay? They did have the opportunity to use helicopters, paratroopers, and all that. The worst type of war you can fight is a face-to-face. You're here, you're there, they can shoot mortars over into your trenches and you can shoot them over there. That's why 1 million people died. 1 million people died in that Gulf War, 1980, 1988. We told them you have to be innovative, but they didn't have time. They didn't have time. On the struggles so that's why poison gas was effective on them, because they was fighting a World War I type trench warfare. Nobody would leave themselves stuck in trenches in modern times, right? Now they got planes, they got helicopters, they got a trench. It's insanity, right? It's insanity. But they didn't have nothing else. And they didn't trust themselves to be innovative at that time. We told them to send hundreds of planes over, hit them from behind, make them turn around. I said, they don't have no what's-the-names back there. Like 100 miles back. Send paratroopers, train them for 2 weeks and send them all you got to do is get them out for one jump. But imagine you send thousands of planes over there, or hundreds, time after time. Iraq is here, Iran is there. So the border, and you keep you're fighting him not from the front, but from behind. The other thing, over 65, 70% of your troops are Shias. And what they were doing was they had a line here with kind of guards they have, mostly the Sunnis in those days. Their job was to shoot Shias that tried to surrender. That's what they did. You get to read it there. And they would, when I'd go and visit, I got pictures they had over 51,000 men surrender. Shias in Iraq surrendered to Iranian Shias almost right away, because they're all there together. They do the same thing. The border, like right now, they have people going to Najaf and Karbala. Most of the people are from Iran. What's the difference between an Iraqi Shia and an Iranian Shia? They're all Shias. and they have different little margins here and there, but they do the same thing. And on the side of this border, you can't tell whether the Arabic that is speaking is from Iraq or from Iran, because they're right at the Shat al-Arab, right? It's right over there. The accent are the same. How you going to use them, all of that stuff that you got now? Not only Hezbollah, that has a whole different flavor and look. You can look at a Shia from Lebanon, and you could tell they're almost white, right? Hafiz Assad, Bashir Assad looks like a European, right? Big, tall European. Because they're from Syria. Syrians look like that. Some Palestinians look like that. Because the white man was in Palestine for a long time, way back when. But anyway, when you're in a big war, you have to use all the things that you have at your disposal. So, why let the people of Yemen starve to death, die of all these diseases? So we have to have medical ships. All they do is park out there in the ocean, right? And them speedboats come and they pick up. This blockade running. This blockade running like we did during Prohibition up in the Great Lakes, right? Stuff like that. They didn't let nobody buy whiskey here. So the Great Lakes, man, you're talking about Canada is right over there, and they sell all the whiskey they can sell, right? And the Great Lakes is all around there, and all you got to do, imagine them in those days in the 20s. Man, they had so much Canadian whiskey and stuff over here, it was a shame. That's why Al Capone got big so much. Not only beer, but he was at Chicago, you could run right over to Canada. They had boats loaded down with Canadian whiskey. Not old rot gut whiskey like in moonshine. Real distilled Irish whiskey that everybody liked. Remember in those days, everybody drank. There's a book called The Alcoholic Republic. When you would go to court, like in the West, sometime the judge would take a hit of whiskey. The defendant, like right now, if you were defended in court and you said, let me have a shot, say, you can't do that. That's against the rules. Not in them days. The defense, the prosecution, the judge, everybody, passed the bottle around. That was standard procedure in America. And, well, not back east days, kind of. But out here, no, out there. Man alive. But anyway, let's get back to this blockade running. This is a beautiful time. So this is what we suggest. Everybody just listen very carefully. This blockade running time. It's blockade running time and everybody's with you. Everybody is happy about what happened in Lebanon. Everybody was happy with what happened in Venezuela. And now it's time to adopt that type of warfare. That's a nonviolent type of warfare. Blockade running. And you're just running blockades. And everything you're doing is inexpensive. And when you get back home and you get a chance to look at where Yemen is, they got the Red Sea over here, the Gulf of Aden here, and all of that is so much space, so many places to hide. So all you got to do is out there in the ocean and in the Red Sea, hitting them from all kind of ways, and put out information that we need medical supplies for Yemen. So if Indonesia want to send a shipload, right, of medicine and toiletries and other supplies to Yemen, but they can't do it, the airports is closed as of soon as you can, blockade run. So that's what I mean about studying warfare. Our brothers are very good at what the man Iran and took up on missiles. They done took a day in a row. But this is all they're missing. Is blockade running. They got everything now. They just hadn't thought of it, sitting there not thinking about it. Right? And they got, since they believe in the concept of these speedboats, hey man, they could send them around on other big boats from Bandar Abbas or just roll around there. But they got, you can unload the motherships and this could be a 24-hour thing. And you got thousands of spots. Some of the spots is within territory you control. Nobody can do anything about it. Do you know how many patrol boats it would take to patrol? When you get time, look at Yemen on the map. Here it is down there, all the way across, then up, and this is the Red Sea here, right? You look at it. Can't nobody, the only reason they haven't done it because they never thought about it. And it's easy. And the little children are dying. This is a chance to, and who won't help? Everybody will help. It's just like you don't hear people hollering about all these boycotts and sanctions against Iran. That stuff is wearing out. The U.S. and the Israelis, they done messed up so much, they can't do nothing to nobody. Their hands is tied. Right? Their hands is tied. Right? And in this case, this is perfect. Simple blockade running. Many people got rich through blockade running, but this is blockade running Sadaqah. The Muslims have a chance to do this for Yemen and Syria. Yemen and Syria. Pretty soon we'll have to start the different things. First we're just going to do the blockade thing, and that gives you an idea of where, but just try to develop that thought. There's too many ways to do it, but we have to do it in a hurry because every day some new children die, right? Even if you just have to take fresh water to them, 2-3 boatloads of fresh water would help. You see what I mean? Because they didn't destroy it, not only in Yemen, but Iraq. They didn't destroy the infrastructure for purification of water. It's sludge, it's slop. What they've done to that part of the world is unbelievable. But there's a good opportunity. Here's the opportunity. You look at Iran, I wish you'd look at them buildings in Iran and look at the buildings, how they're improving. The medicine, the technique, Iran is into the latter part of the 20th century, no, the earlier part of the 21st century with technology. Remember the amount of Iranian students that was here. Iranians got a lot of things going for them. Number one, they were smart as any of the people here. Maybe them and the Chinese was running neck and neck. Iranian students. They were smart, A students. And most of them went back home. Some still come different places. So their universities in Iran are top of the line. A lot of things, and 60% in the university people are who? Anybody got an idea? Women, that's right. They talk about that girls are oppressed. Maybe they are in Afghanistan, but in Iran, it's going to be hard for a brother because a brother, he wants to have kind of a little bit of education in his wife. Hopefully that ain't the case. And it haven't been the case. It's been going on for decades. So all the stuff they have say bad about Iran is bullcrap. And anything that is going on is because of a corrupt minority, a minority of thieves and criminals, and a few short-sighted people. But, so we can fit it all here's what we have to do. For the relief, because this is for them, it's regional war. Let's call it regional war number one. Now not their war with Iran and Iraq. That was a national war, but that's it. Let's call this regional war number one. Because however it goes, whenever it's over, if you look at Arabia, you look at how much room Yemen takes up. Yemen used to be Sunnis and Shias, and it still is. But all the programs that I went into in Iran, everybody was there, was either Shias or in transition. Because the Zaydis in Yemen believe in Shaykhain, the two sheikhs, Abu Bakr and Umar. And when they call the adhan, they say like the Shia say, Hayya al khair al amal. Okay. So they're kind of like Sunnis, but they're Shias. The number has shifted, the wholesale number. And I've watched this shift going on. So this regional war number one, right now, it might as well technically be over because you have on that side of the Gulf, over there you have all of Yemen. And however that war ends, looks like it's going to win for the home team. But not only do we want them to win, but now we want to relieve. And we want the whole world to get in it. This is a time like they collect sadaqah and this and that for other people. Let them collect sadaqah for Yemen. The reason they don't is because these bums in Saudi Arabia is the ones back in the war, right? So we want to get other people opportunity, right? And this zakah, this sadaqah is earmarked. And this is things we want to start right now, actually today. As soon as we walk out of there, I ought to be getting busy. But what I mean, here's the thing. During the first Gulf War, 1980 to 1988, we didn't have the authority or the ability or to suggest how to fight the war. And plus, we're Americans. It's different now. It's different. We're suggesting this is how you do that. You've already proved it with Lebanon. Blockade run. You can assist them however you like. Medicine, food supplies, the main food supplies that you have tons of. Rice and other things, things that you can give them the rice and a few more staples, and the high protein foods. If you have to send 1 billion protein bars over there, that's fine. You're trying to keep everybody alive till the war is over, right? And everybody eats the rice, hook them up real good. And now this gets into the second part that I was going to talk about. So this will be a little mixed up. So if we go back and forth a little bit, just bear with me. China has developed saltwater rice. You know, there's a Chinese doctor that was, he didn't, and they eat it themselves now, and they can't tell the difference. Saltwater rice, because nothing can grow, but this doctor didn't look like Yakub or somebody, put a little of this here, a little bit of that there with it, and they have it now. They have it now, and they're producing it. So, for hunger and everything, you got the whole Yemeni coast, right? You got the Iranian coast and all of that. So everybody want to help everybody. Bring in the Chinese right now and hurry up, right? And all of that, those long stretches, if you were in Iran, Bandar Abbas, and you go outside of town, it's hundreds of miles that way. And the water is right over there, salt water. All you got to do now is plow up all of that level stuff, put a couple of pumps there, and flood it with saltwater rice. Yeah, that's what they have now. Okay. The other thing is stop messing around with Chinese dragon boats. You know, the dragon boats races they're Chinese. They're importing that to our people in Egypt, Iran. Stop doing that mess. We don't have time for that. Right? You want to do Islamic or human revival with Egyptian characteristics, not Chinese characteristics, right? You want to do other revival stuff with Iranian or regional characteristics, right? And this is a time, I don't want to jump too much, but this is a time of we're in a global thing right this minute. And the shift is going on right now. Today, it's going on. Just turn on the news. The shift in NATO, their allies, right? So you have breaks in those shifts. Because one of the biggest pillars in NATO is Germany and France. Now, Germany and France had 3 wars, but they've become friends over a long period of time. And and the only one talking about getting out of it is Brexit, old dumb England. The stuff is so high in England, them people are so stupid. Why they would break up from a union, I'll tell you why. I don't want to go backwards. But America told them, you got that strong union there, so you get out of it and leave it to them. Because Britain, look at Britain, a big flunky of America. And don't worry about the hadith that said a maid servant will give birth to all that stuff. Of course, we stretch it a little bit and we get Britain and America. America gave birth to a revolution against England, and now that England is a maidservant, a girl, a boss man here. Yes, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. I mean, I'm saying, you got to work with the hadith. We work with them a little bit. We're not going to lie or anything like that, but it's going to fit. When we fit, the Negro can make stuff fit. They say, we can't make that fit. That's because you're white. You just let us. We work with it. When we finish, this boy is going to fit and it's going to be seamless, and you ain't going to stop, say, this is rough here, this is rough. No, it ain't going to be that way. You're going to say, hey, this is really a smooth ride here. Yeah, you might have parts of a Ford, a Chevy, a Mack truck, all on the same vehicle for this smooth ride. Anyway, see, the world is changing so fast that the people cannot adjust. The only one that's adjusting is us. Why? Because they don't. All we got to do is adjust. We don't have to worry about everything they did to us was to relieve us of all those hassles. We don't have to go to California till we get ready. If they take something, we'll get it back when we get it back. That's the confidence we have. Right? That's why we've been here that's why we've been here. We ain't went back out there since, because everything around here, boss man acts so stupid that he relieves us of the pressure of doing anything. All we do is pay the taxes, we'll stay around. We'll have our cultures, we'll have our center here, and it'll be booming. During this period, our centers are going to be booming. So Allah didn't want us to waste our time moving people in here, moving people in here. When Allah wants us, man, look at here. The whole world will be rotating through here. Why? Because all the talks that we have been making have not been Negroid only. Think about it. It's all been global. The other point, no one in the world have given a balanced view of what will work, what won't work, and what we should be doing other than here. The Chinese are doing a serious job on what they're doing, but they're missing a few points. We're not tied to any money. We're not tied to agriculture. We're not tied to all of that. We've been relieved. Who relieved us? Boss man. The dummy? He's a fool. And at the end of your tenure as boss man, you look so stupid that you do all the things that bring you down. He's doing it right now. Okay, just go. Everything he's doing in the world, when I say he, I mean the United States. He's picked a war with China, right? And he's rolling on that. He got it rolling. But when he went against Japan some years back, it worked. When it went against the tiny tigers in the late 90s, 98, 90, it worked. He just floated a thing against the Chinese economy that's in the news all today about property and all that. That's not going to work. It's going to fizzle. You could tell it's the U.S. They done made a quick study of where everything. See, sometimes boss man do it and the people don't even know. Like Japan, they study the system. Japan, they're buying up everything. They're doing this, they're doing that. And now so the plugs they pulled, they worked on Japan. That's why Japan is kind of obedient to the boss man. But this is a different time. Now, I talk with, when I used to buy all the videos, I talked with the guys from China, So we would talk about the stuff we're talking about now. One of the subjects was, hey, you guys should get along better with Japan. I say, that's part of their culture. it's hard for them to apologize for what they did to y'all. All do it. And I said the rape of Nanking, 1937, was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I say, but remember, in Nippon history, if a guy make a mistake, he'll cut his own guts out. So you know that they're not focused on certain other stuff they don't care about. They care about, I said, just like y'all. You guys never got over the Opium War. You never got over Britain and France and everybody taking a part of China. And you notice when what's-her-name made his speech, the 100-year anniversary, that's the first thing he talked about. That's the Chinese have this, all Orientals have this thing about saving face. And you trampled on us. No Chinese and no dogs allowed in this park in China. The same with here, no niggas and no dogs allowed in the park. Right? But that's in China. Therefore, me and him would talk all the time on these deep subjects. And the way he talked, one thing he was not was a secondhand movie handler. He has to be a Chinese agent on a high level, hanging out in the wash houses. And so that means you know China knows what's going on here in America. And he might be in and out of one spot, and those Chinamen came from Malaysia, and I said, so I'm talking with them, and the lady says to me, so how are you with Anwar Ibrahim? I said, he's all right. So they know about the Islamic movement. Anwar Ibrahim? That's when he was in the thing. And she, well, I just happened at my restaurant before was in Malaysia. I said, sure, no big deal. Right? I'm telling you, believe me, if these dummies think that, we'll just keep this nigga bottled up here at the Masjid, he won't be able to run up on nothing. It's not the way it is. That's the way it looks to the dummy. And I'm saying the dummy. Dear believers, the world is in transition. They can't keep us out of the mix. We're in the mix, in the heaviest part of the mix. And guess what? If people can't get to us to listen, they're listening. Because all our math is proved out to be 99%, 98%, All the stuff that happened with the political fitna in Iran, I think I gave y'all the handout from February 1990. Part about sewers, working in the sewers. And you see them coming the same. That was, 30 years ago? Was that 20 years? 30 years ago. 30 years ago! The day it happened. Imam is dead now only a few months. And the first thing we write, we're just looking around, and it's it today. And those people are the same one that are cut off from the big stuff. If they're going to have a big meeting somewhere, they don't get to come. And they're the head minister. And the guy that's in charge now was one of Soleimani's followers or associates. He would converse with him before they did anything. Okay, so it's not only our team or our team type. And even it goes so deep, it goes like this. Even we had people that we would want to run for president. But at this time, just wait another year, still young. Just wait till another 8 years. Why? Because right now, you being on the scene, it wouldn't fit. You see what I'm saying? And that's your friend. You have to tell your friend, hey, that's the thing, it's not the right time. And so when you see certain officials make certain moves, it's the best move to make at this time during the situation that they're in. So the point I'm making, whether it's blockade running, it's analyzing what stage of the war that we're in and using the time, place, circumstances, and the tools at your disposal. And do like Lebanon did. Lebanon whooped the Zionists so bad, they didn't have fourth and fifth generation weapons. The Zionists had them. But they used a combination of second and third generation weapons to flatten the Zionist. And we use a combination of past Negroes during my father's era, 1900s, he's born in 1900. That's why our favorite champion was Black Jack Johnson, because that's what theirs was. All the other people my age, their champion was Muhammad Ali. That's who they like. Muhammad Ali is fine, but we said Jack Johnson and Muhammad Ali. And we're using those right now. We use them in the past. We'll use them till they get old. We are using it. We've continued to use it, and we're effective. That's what's going on here. It don't make no difference what they think or what they say. It has nothing to do with where we're coming from. We're prepared to live any kind of life that we have to live in order to reach what we believe our goal and direction is, which is coming up relatively soon, which is the hereafter. So that's what we plan for. That's the tune we singing for. We want to be accepted in that. Okay, now let's get back to where we are. Where we are is that there's a transition going on in the world right today. Everything is transitioning in our direction. Literally everything. If you don't believe it, look at Yemen. Which way is it? Look at Iran, right? Look at Iraq, right? Look at all of those, right? We can't jump in Libya yet. That's outside of our thing right now. But one thing about Libya, though, when they broke it down, they used to call Gaddafi the king of Africa. So everybody still comes from Africa. They don't get treated like they used to. They get treated pretty bad, by the, who. And so, but guess what? The population shifts in Europe is so dynamic, and the Arabs and Pakistanis and all those people coming from Libya, because you can't get mess with nobody. So Libya is open, but the people are coming by the thousands. And this is a pretty big year. They try not to say a whole lot about it, right? All those people are of color. Africa is sending everybody they can up that way. Okay? If it stopped now, Europe would not be Europe. Germany has been flooded since I can remember. I mean, when I would get on a bus in Germany in the early 70s, it would be Turks on there, right? Because Germany had lost so many people during World War II, they didn't have enough people to work. So they sent to Turkey. That's why all those Masjid, Turks. But now, Nigerians, Africans, everything in lily white Aryan Germany. Germany is the best producing. You go there, they give you get you in a quick trade and get you all the game on that. And Germany materially is outproducing the German car. Go get a Benz, a BMW. That's what everybody, right? And then after that is the Japanese. What did America produce? Nothing. Big old bucket of boats. Okay, but here's the way it is. Everything that they do to hurt us is helping us. That's the way we are here in America. They don't do nothing to hurt us. Nothing, 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 nothing. And we don't take it that way. Everything helps. The economies in Africa are doing, I don't know, not that well. All that Pakistan, all that war in Syria, what did it do? It emptied out Syria. It emptied out all of our areas. They walked over or swam over to Libya, and hundreds of them would be packed on them little boats. They shouldn't do that, but they did it anyway. But one thing about it, a lot of them sunk, but a lot of them got through. And who was on them boats? Niggas, Arabs, and gooks, whatever they called people over there, all of them. That's who was on the boats. Europe is not Europe anymore, right? Europe is not Europe. And guess what? Who has all the kids? All the Muslims, like here, ain't nobody having kids with people of color. And they gave something to us so they slowed us down, but we'll be all right. We're fine. Latinos and everybody else. And the vision of America, the free, the home of the brave, when they whooped them people and chased them down on horseback, down on the border, that was it. It was always it. And then the same week, they double-crossed their greatest ally. They double-crossed France, the ones that helped them in the war. Not that war, the one that counted, right? The French is the ones that helped them at Yorktown. I mean, the French helped them. And they double-crossed the French. So what do you think about American prestige and trustability in the world today? Only people trust boss man is a damn fool. Nobody else. Okay. Everything that they have done to the world, we have to look at it as a benefit. Here's how. You take Syria, destroyed. You take Iraq, destroyed, right? You take Iran has already started. When they start rebuilding Yemen, rebuild all areas on 21st century, mid-21st century style with a little Arabic mixed in, right? Using local, but all the modern things, right? As far as greenery in certain streets and what have you, right? As far as rooftop gardens, as far as sewage treatment, if it's in Arabic places where it's little water, that purifies water, right? Agriculture, that study the Zionists using the drip method, and they growing big old fat. So it's okay to use the Zionist thing. They didn't invent it. Drip, drip, drip. So that all that water that we don't have, that little bit that we keep, it'll greenify everything. It's there. It's just that it's not being used. In Yemen, the Chinese perfected terracing. The South Americans, the old Indian societies, terraced, like mountains. You terrace them. And you terrace them that shapes in like this. So when it rains, it saves water. So then you cover them with greenery. What does greenery do? It holds water, right? They said one tree holds 57,000 gallons of water. I don't know. But, and you push the desert back and you combine what you know, like Iran combines what it knows with the Chinese technology. Because China has been pushing their deserts back, pushing them back. And they've been using salt water rice. You don't know what they might be able to grow in salt water pretty soon. Who knows, right? Okay. So that you use all the technology. So they destroyed our lands. Now we're going to rebuild them back, not like they was. Way off into the future, right? They use now 80 and 90% of your water to where you reuse, when and the Muslim toilets on the floor and what have you, that stuff goes out. It don't have all the junk that we throw in here. Right? It goes right to a treatment center, and you treat it like they do in Germany. You build up the soil. You can take it far out in the desert as you want so it don't smell. Just take it on out there and let it build up for years. And when you get ready, right, you got you a garden, a homemade garden that's got 1 foot or 2 feet of soil. Doo-doo. That's the best, that's the best fertilizer you can get. Now, horse manure, cow manure, that's pretty good. But human doo-doo is big. It is. It's big. Everybody will tell you. The Chinese been doing it. All them people been doing it for decades. The Germans been doing it for decades. If you're in the fields, if you're in Germany in February and all that, it's fine. But if you're there in March and April, it smells like doo-doo. Because they take doo-doo every day out in them wagons and dump it on the land. Okay, anyway, so we're going to use everything as an asset. I'm telling you. That's what we do here. Boss man can't do nothing that we're not going to use. And we're going to laugh at him at the same time. And we're going to slip up on him and say, you thought that was working, boss man? You were as slow as your boy, I'm telling you, good God Almighty. That's the way we talk to him. That's the way we're talking now. You think boss man, this is piped into boss man's house, right at the boss man headquarters, boss man station. It has sit right there, boss man. That's where it's going right now. And he's going to come around boss man is like the Germans. They keep records. You know, we didn't prove everything the Germans did because they kept meticulous record. We burned 625 Jews today, 925 the other day, and the furnace wouldn't burn but a few, you know, so that's it. But they wrote it all down. So at Nuremberg trials, they just produced the German records. The CIA is, and the FBI are kind of like that. A lot of the things that people just proved the other day, the way they proved that what the West did in Afghanistan was from the Freedom of Information stuff. So they killed so many children, and then they would pay them off, you know, blood money, because that's what we pay. Right? The dummy keep all the records. And they're relatively accurate. They got a couple of things. They ain't going to put down, well, we burned all these niggas, we burned all. They're going to put it in code language, but you'll know what they're talking about. Right now, everything that they've done, you could find out, most of it, it's on record. Because they keep the records because they don't want to repeat. They want the people behind them to do the correct thing. So they put down the correct, because the record they got, the stuff they got from Boss Man was semi-correct. We kill Indians this way, we do this to niggas, and it's all on the record. We done ran this game and that game, and they write down the game and what they do. Right? That's what they do. They write it all down and they keep it, you know, because they don't want you later on to make this. They want you to know how accurate their program is, right? Where this program you use is 88% accurate from our records, and it's 88% accurate. So if you double cross 100 Negroes, you double cross 88% of them. It's going to work according to their records, right? Okay, that's the same thing they did in Afghanistan. So on top of what they did to the people the other day, where they trying to ride their planes on the wheels and get out of there, on top of that, day before yesterday, all this stuff comes out. Them, and not only that, the British and everybody else, the Canadians that was over there, they happen to keep all that too. And now everybody's embarrassed, right? And we all told everybody before they left what they gonna do with all them weapons. They gonna leave them behind for their homeboys, right? But it ain't working. It's not gonna work. The rest of the world is moving, and so they set it right here for the people to get, and they got it. But when the world continues to revolve, the numbers, the people, and the what have you is all shot to HELL. What I mean to say is this. The Quran refers to wa makaru wa makarullahu wallahu khairul makirin. They plan and Allah plan. And Allah is the best of planners. I'm telling you, this is our time. And I'm not saying be comfortable with what we're doing, but everything we're doing is not exactly what it looks like. It's more like what we sound like. And I'm not being arrogant, but you know, the stuff that we had to deal with, they actually beat me upside the head. I mean, they wasn't playing either. So if I say we love those people because it's a wonderful policy, because we wouldn't be stupid enough to go after them, and they sitting around the corner waiting for you because they already know. We wouldn't do that. That's dumb. That means they would take us out with little, like they do most Negroes. They take them out with another Negro. That's what the brother was saying on the thing, Dr. C.L. Franklin. I keep saying doctor, but anyway. Hey, everybody, not everybody, but people understood the stuff a little bit, but they didn't know how to implement it. They didn't have the courage to implement it. That's what we have. We have the courage to implement everything. Say, okay. And people be doing stuff, and just think about it. We do not get diverted. If it's anything, we keep going where we're going. We take a siesta. Right? I'm telling you. So technically, I'm going to move toward wrapping it up. Excuse me if the stuff is a little uncoordinated, but we're trying to explain the new world order, the new way things are developing, and how we all fit in it. So I'll start in the Middle East. If we're talking about Yemen, if you're talking about all those areas, whether it's Yemen, whether it's Lebanon, whether it's Iraq, all of those, Syria, whoever it is, they're all in harmony with each other. So before it was Iran by itself. Now all of those are allies. Then when you take those allies, and then when you take China and you take Russia, okay, on an honesty level, if you're talking about honesty, Russia would be below China. But China has been very successful recently. But China and Russia are in an open war against the United States. They need allies too. So during the struggle, you treat your allies pretty good because you need them. China realizes within the last week or month, with this big attack on their money supply and all of that, whatever this company is. That's right. Property. Same thing they tried on Japan. But China got options. It can rescue that and take it over. And it can consolidate. China will probably, since so many Chinese poor people and middle class invested, they're not going to let it go with all that hard work they put in. But it's not going to have anything to do with destroying the Chinese government. In fact, if they handle this right, it's going to make them look even better. All right? Whatever it is, it's wishful thinking to think that what happened in the United States with Lehman Brothers, with the same thing would happen to China. If it was another time, but this is this time. And this time, all the planning of the U.S. and all this discoveries and trying to get them run China broke is not going to happen. The second thing, Russia and China has been buying up all the gold that they can get their hands on, except without making it look like a gold rush to drive it up. So they done ho-hummed over the last decades and bought up not half the gold. Not even all the gold, but a lot of the gold. Everybody knows they've been doing it. So no matter what happened, they can back any moves that they make. Did they foresee this coming? Did the Chinese foresee, 40 years ago, we got Chinaman, we just go Chinese laundryman attitude? That's what Deng Xiaoping told them. Don't antagonize them. Just be friendly and nice. And it worked. And the maddest white man you've ever seen in the world is starting about 2, 3, 4 years ago when China is not adopting democracy. I think it was 2017 when what's the name gave the lecture on Chinese characteristics, and they was mad. You mean you ain't gonna do no democracy? Absolutely not. So then they started telling the people in Taiwan, they started having all them riots a few years after that, and what's the name? Everybody waving the American flag in Hong Kong. Shh. Yeah, ain't gonna work. All the Hong Kongers say, you gotta stop them people. They done blew. They're sending people all away from here. We was getting all the money. Now, we can't hardly get no money, right? And we don't produce nothing because we're, sitting out there in the ocean, Hong Kong. But anyway, so what's the U.S. done? It's done made everything favorable for all the people that are headed in the direction that we're going in. So the Chinese have to be good because they're in a war with boss man. Boss man said, we coming to get you, China. They say, well, come on. They ought to just put a little bit more Chinese laundryman in it, just for a couple of, to put the people of America to sleep. You can't put the boss man. He already know what he going. You didn't accept our stuff. You didn't become a liberal democracy. Well, we're mad now. We're mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore. That's what the guy said, hollering out the window. Remember on that news, what was that? Faye Dunaway? Faye Dunaway, yeah, network. Yeah, network. That was it. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. No, it's all right. But see, the thing about it, too, is that, no, let the Chinese can't lose, but why lose extra people or have no, just say, oh, boss man, we were just playing. And then keep on doing, and then, so that's one of the things. We got to remember, we're not alone. And when I say we are not alone, that means our line is not alone. Now, I want you to remember the Negroes, the Coons, and the Arabs and everybody except the younger ones, they're not going to keep that line that they've been pushing. All of a sudden, they're going to be coming, they might come in here and push us out of the chair and start talking, Mag Bag Amdika. That's what they'll do, But even that don't make no difference. You know why? The outline is here. They have to push the outline. And who cares? That's the difference between us. Y'all want to be famous? We didn't have, see, when you done had it already, it ain't nothing. When you know what fame and fortune do, who are the most unhappiest people in the world? The most famous people in the world. The more famous they are, the less happy. They can't get no sleep because the people follow them around taking cameras. They can't just lay out and take it easy because the people take a camera. Oh, look at what's the name got a belly. Look at how much weight he gained. The guy made it just, or the woman especially, just had 2 weeks. They wanted to eat a lot, and then they gonna run it off, But oh no, they show that picture in them crazy magazines for years. And you think it's a new one, and so is fat, right? Then you mad now. They're the most unhappiest people in the world. That's why psychiatrists in D.C. they should be making a little bit as crazy. But you want to make big money, go out to California, to Hollywood, right? The psychiatrist, every star has a psych or two, right? So they can't fool us with how they can fool 98% of the people about money, about fame, about looks and all of that. That's because they ain't never had it, right? But once you done had it, you say, man, you can't fool nobody with that stuff. Buddy. I don't know what they say, been there and done. I done that already. I already know, and I got lucky. Anyway, so the Chinese should have or they could have, if they feel like it, it's up to them. However it goes, they won't be taken out by America because America owed them money. They don't owe America, whatever it is. You're going to go down and put the bank out of it. I'm firing all of y'all in the bank. But you owe us money. We don't owe you. In fact, the money is in here. It's not, So that's the method of China. The Europeans that had a European Union are not a solid block anymore. The U.S. always wanted to break it up because it was always challenging. The euro was always a challenge for the dollar. Okay. If you listen to the news about the truck drivers and the supplies in Europe and England and all that, those people did what we told the white man to do here. Take your gun out of your head and shoot yourself in the head. Brexit? Suicide. Now they ain't got no drivers. They ain't got this. Listen to the news. They don't have no, hey man. And they with boss man. And everybody mad at boss man, everybody laughing at boss man. The British should have went with the French and the Germans and stayed in that thing that they had. Instead of listening to boss man to get them to weaken them, they ain't weakening them now. Right? And who they mad at? They mad at boss man. Everybody is mad at boss man. Everybody. He's double-crossed everybody. If you double-cross the French, see, the French and the Germans as homies. They fought 3 wars, so they kind of just started liking each other or something. No, of course the Germans won all the time, so that might have something to do with it. No, that's 1871, 1914, and Hitler flew over the Maginot Line. The French say, you ain't going to do this to us no more. They built the Maginot Line. Boy, that was a serious line. Tunnels, big weapons, pillboxes, and the Germans just went around it. And then it went around it that way and then flew over it with paratroopers and they captured France in 3 weeks. Boy, that was humiliating. I'm telling you, boy, hey, man, they were sad. They should be sad. So the French and the Germans are always friends on economy now. You study the record. And now boss man and double cross one of them in front of everybody. He's not doing very well. And not only that, his record, South America, forget it. All of that. Now us, we are right here, and we have never changed or altered no matter how bad it looked to everybody else, to us. We've never batted an eye. So you don't have to worry about, as this war continues, the prestige of whoever they are, because the record speaks for itself. You don't have to look for it. It'll all come through in ways that anything that happened to us here as a consequence. One of the speakers, he used to be over here, who was on a program in Tehran. At least I was here, he was there. He said, we're over here and saying this. Imam Musa is inside of the United States, because he'd been here for years. He said, this was a few years ago, he said, Imam Musa is inside of the United States, saying that. What the heck? This is where we belong. We ain't running off. Why would we run off? We got boss man on the run. Okay, let me go through a few more things. Okay, so we got boss man on the run. Good God Almighty, we got here that boss man's eyes is puffed up. Boss man is behind on points. That's what we have. This is a fact. His eyes is puffed up, his lips are swole. Good God Almighty. Tell the truth. So if your eyes puffed up, you can't see. Too many headshots. You can't see. And that's the way it is. It's not only us. See, it's everybody. He thought he was just doing this to us. Now imagine you got people that's bad as you are. Okay. And you might be on the front line out there, but they back there in the back, they might be looking out for you. They just might be looking out. Somebody is looking out for us all of this time. And don't say nobody knows about it. Deutsche Welle has been here. The Russian press has been here. The Japanese press has been here. Everybody but the Chinese. Everybody but the Chinese. And I figured that they didn't come because they didn't want to, we don't know him. I ain't never seen him before. Just because he talk about the Long March, just because he talk about this, Chairman Mao and all that great history and the long, I don't know, nigga. And just because Agent 006 is his best friend, he get all his stuff from him, and they be talking about real stuff. That what's a Chinese video seller going to be talking about that stuff about? He shouldn't even know about it. And he's talking about it in detail. And I'm saying, well, why don't you guys just accept the Japanese apology? And they won't do it. They won't do it. Just say, they nipping knees. They can't help it. Stuff like that. You think it don't work like that. Everybody has an intelligence network. Everybody has an intelligence network. The whole world. And all them big folks, you think they ain't got, if they have somebody pop up from the United States, we don't like China, you don't think they have somebody over here or twice as many here that understands what's going. If they didn't understand exactly what's going on here, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing with timely expertise. Okay, so what we got here is we got boss man. This is what it said. Boss man is behind on points. His eyes is puffed up. He got cut over the eyes. We said, let's see, because if you got cut under the eyes, your eyes puffed up. But if you got cut over the eyes, the blood is dripping into your eye, and you can't see. All right. That's the way we're calling the fight that way. That's the way it is because the whole struggle, if you didn't understand it, you would think that the people involved are delirious. The stuff that Boss Man is doing right now he's delirious. And I'm not saying that I'm feeling sorry for him, but I wish I would have not did it. But he deserves what he has. And if he swallows it right, he may come out of it. So counterattack, strategic assets, China, Russia. I talked about big gold purchases already. Micro movement activities. I did mention strategic assets. Strategic assets are assets that are very important, and they're strategically located already, and they're an asset. It's just that you have to figure out a way to use them. And that's the way we were with Iran and other places when they were at war. Strategic assets is the locality that they're struggling in. They can take oil and everything to Syria, and Syria can put it in trucks and bring it to Lebanon. So they can't stop it because it's not going to Lebanon. It's going to Syria. When they get on Syrian trucks, Syria is right next door. Lebanon is right next door, right? So a certain strategic thing. Yemen is located in a strategic location. The people are starving to death and dying of thirst and everything else because they haven't mobilized that whole coast and coordinated. Simple blockade running. Okay? So, that's our suggestion. Remember, sometimes they get bogged down and it takes friends that's outside watching the fight, and you slide up to the corner and say, hey, tell them to do this. That's what we're doing right now. It's simple, it's as old as history. Blockade running. They used to surround a fort or a city and blockade it, right? And the people that had skill in making tunnels and breaking that blockade, right? They could save the city. The blockade runners can save lives. Just like in Lebanon, it was one ship already there. The other one might be there today or tomorrow. And so it'll be a whole fleet coming in. Winter's getting ready to start. They'll have cooking oil. They won't get cooking off on that, but they'll get it. They'll have oil. They'll have diesel fuel to keep the hospitals running. All of that. They have that now, right? Okay. Blockade running in every situation. Right now, everybody in in Afghanistan is going where? To Iran. They already had millions of Afghan refugees there now. And Iran is sending Like the U.S. used to be the arsenal of democracy, they called it, during World War II. Iran right now is the arsenal of Islam and the Islamic movement. And as soon as I can get over there, that's what I'm going to tell them. Because we got to move a few dummies to the side, the way that they'll be gone in a minute. But we'll find a way to get the message to them publicly, that you are the arsenal of Islam. That's what we call it. That's right, arsenal of Islam. They are. Yeah, why wait? They let the little girl is gone. Of course. Yeah, that was about it. But remember now, just look at it around the world. Everything is changing. They're the ones that held up on Iran. So now Iran is using that, if you hold up another 2 weeks, we won't even need that. They got people buying oil. They got more support. And you got to remember that even the crooks, definitely Russia and China is on their side. But you got to remember that when you start double crossing your home folks, they had the French was helping Iran with that nuclear whatever it was down in, near Bandar Abbas. The French was helping them build their nuclear stuff down there. And the U.S. told them to leave them alone. And they did. And they said, nah, you didn't go and cut a deal with hey, man. The news tell you how mad the French are, right? Good God Almighty. Huh? Right. Oh, yeah. Good God Almighty, they steaming. I watched it. Hey, man, they foaming at the mouth. When is you going to recall your ambassador from your friend and we don't want to talk to y'all. They ask something, try to talk, hey, man, bump y'all, man, that ain't right. They sound like they colored, man, that ain't right. Right? That's look, you can't make this stuff up. If you and I were sitting down devising a regular plan of what we wanted, for so-and-so to mess up here, for so-and-so to go ahead here, we couldn't devise the stuff that's happening right now. So this counter response is all a human response. It gets everybody involved. Gets the people involved from the Muslim countries to help send a couple of ships to the close by, and we'll unload them. And we'll unload them, boat by boat, and we'll run them into Yemen. You got enough coming in? It'll do it. It'll break the blockade. Not only that, they're getting ready to fold already anyway. You can tell that they've exhausted all the crackpots and everybody they could hire. And you can't hire nobody to fight for you that's going to really fight. So they selling out, quitting, going home. I'll quit. Just to get off the battlefield, go catch a boat to go home. Okay. Help build Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Afghanistan, those countries. But high-tech use of water. Remember, a lot of those places are deserts, so now you have to develop reuse policies because they're polluting, the Tigris and Euphrates. And all those people up there, They got a few rivers from Iran that flows into the Tigris and Euphrates. And most of it comes from up in Syria and up in Iraq. And they've built dams. They must have 10 or 20 dams all along the way, right? So it's like the big dam they deal in Ethiopia. So Egypt and Sudan has got their eye on them, and they mad. You don't want you to mess with the water too much. But we got to fill up our dam too, so we can at least get the electric running. If you fill up your dam, then that's going to stop all of, that's been our flow of life since we've been here. Well, we'll do what we can. Okay. Desert recovery, high-tech use of water, that all the science, the engineering and the technology from China, even the way Israel used stuff, grow it, use it. Blockade running, enlist global Islamic support. This don't go. Space race after global cleanup. Forget about the people running in outer space. Clean up the globe first, then run out there, right? They look stupid going in outer space and the dead fish rolling up on the water. Okay, now, there's a few things to remember. Iranian history is a history of rulers. They've ruled the world. You go back in the Bible or any time, Iran has been big. And they view history different than here. They may have 500 years where they was big. They was the biggest power in the area, And then they have 200, 300, 400 years, they're not doing too good, right? Then they have, like in recent history, maybe 100 bad years. But they always got in their mind, I told them that's the difference between Iranians and some others. And Turks. Turks had Ottoman Empire, so they have somewhere back in their thought pattern that we run this, We got the capacity. We did it before for 500 years. So Iran, from biblical history, before Turkey, have had rise and falls of empire. They look at what's going on now as just a part of that. And just like they used to maintain and control all that area, Tirmidhi up in Afghanistan, the Hadith and all that. The 6 collectors of Hadith, Bukhari, Muslim, they were all from Iran, Arabic speakers from Iran. Yeah. Now, just look at this. Everything that's in turmoil now is all centered around Iran. What do they have in the back of their mind? They shouldn't have it there. But not only the Shia empire, but wasn't people, but of course they would never say Iranian empire, right? But they holding everybody's hand, right? And for the right reason. So whether de facto, which means in fact, or other, who cares? Right? And they're developing everything that goes along with it. The space technology, the infrastructure. Now imagine when they get those areas rebuilt and they get everybody involved. And all of them in harmony. That will disentangle the whole things the British did to them 100 years ago. Because remember, that area is always important. Study the great game theory. You ever heard about the great game? Russia and Afghanistan, or Russia and Britain, the way they fought for, like if British ran into Afghanistan, the Khyber Pass and all that, it was to prevent the Russians from, they call it the Great Game. That was 150 years ago, like during that era and more. So those colonial powers have always been in a great game theory. They've always been plotting on us. Now, look what's going on. Man, right next to Saudi Arabia is Yemen with oil. And the country has been destroyed. It needs to be rebuilt, right? Don't rebuild it on old non-energy saving stuff. Rebuild it with your building materials, but in modern ways. They keep you cool this time and save energy, right? All of that Middle East, Iraq, Syria, those are big countries. They're just developing the technology. Let Iran and China collaborate with them and rebuild that whole area. They flatten Iraq, rebuild it. Rebuild all those areas, right? But in modern technology, 21st century. You see what I mean? That's the opportunity. That's what we're going to be suggesting. Don't just rebuild them old brick houses that'll fall on your earthquake and you got all them heavy bricks over your head and wonder why everybody dies in an earthquake in Iran and they can have one 10 times as strong in California as 2 people die. Because California, they use wood. It's as simple as that. And over there, they use what's out there. Well, there's dirt, so we mix it with this, and we got bricks, right? So everything they build, bricks can't stand, trembling and shaking. It'd fall, it'd kill you. That's why they lose so many people over there. But California, they can have big earthquake as they want. And if it ain't no bricks up there, it ain't nothing but them. You can hear them twisting when the earthquake is going on. But nothing falls but a little piece of sheetrock. Not a big brick that'll kill you, or you got to dig everybody out. That's the difference. Use local material but modern technology. Right? So you have strong walls but light roofs, everything over your head and inside the room. Right? Build them as tall as you like, but it's now efficient. It uses water correctly. It goes to a treatment place, right? Yeah, okay. Let me, research and development, we'll talk about that later. Brain manipulation, not working, use destruction. Yeah, use destruction and tragedy as a benefit. That's what we've been talking about. Using your mind. Manipulate and use the destruction as a benefit. They didn't already destroyed all of Iraq, most of Syria. They didn't destroyed it already. They've destroyed most of Yemen. So use it as a benefit and how you rebuild and what have you. Okay, research and development. This is a long story. Erosion management, how to deal with crops and foods, how to plant grasses, how to terrace land so when it rains, if you don't have nothing over the soil, you can have a big rain and an hour later the place is dry because nothing never sunk in. It ran all over. But if you got grasses and you got all other kind of stuff, the water will hold and it'll sink in. And right now we got all of our land, tons of it. We can terrace it so that the water goes. It doesn't run off. That's one of the things that's causing problems, is that the earth is not, everything is developed like sewers to run right off here and run right down there and run out in the water. So that helps the ocean rise up. Plant more trees and more grasses and more plants. And even planting crops, they got different styles now. They're not digging up the soil anymore in some crops. They come, they leave everything there and they plant over it. Why? Because all that stuff dies there and it leaves moisture in the soil, right? Yeah, yes. Huh? Yep. Oh, Roundup, yeah, we got to get rid of that stuff. That stuff, it's even killing all the bees. The bees go back with that stuff and the whole thing die. Okay, Iran, China assets in adopting high-tech China. Okay, so they're forcing us together. Russia got 8 time zones, so we don't have to worry about space. And a small population for the amount of people. Okay, China, pretty big place, almost big as the U.S. If it was just continental U.S. without Alaska, it would be bigger. China would be bigger. Okay. China is using all kind of new technology to cut desertification, cut it down. They're actually reclaiming. Okay, so in our areas, we do that, reclaim. Iran is perfect for it because they got nothing but desert and a lot of it. Saltwater rice, I remember that. Desert recovery. Use destruction as a benefit. That's what we just talked about. Everything they did to us, use it as a benefit. Everything they do to us, we don't holler about it. We say, oh, don't you worry, we use that as a benefit. Teach new farming. Study water use, drip system. That's what the Israeli use. Okay, and I'll close with this. In Yemen, over near the really populated area, the highest mountain area is about 12,000 feet. So up that high, they get different, climate's a little different. They get a lot of rain, but it never goes out to the desert portion. So they have to build either earthen dams, build tons of dams to catch all of that water so it don't run into the Gulf of Aden or the Red Sea. Because they got all that drainage, right? So now save it all. And if you have to pump it around a few blocks or a few miles, right, to get it out to the desert, get it on out there. All they got to do is use a little light technology, right? So what that means is, and I'll close with this, all the assets that we have, we start using them. And all those things that are not assets, we won't bother with them. We won't get into no fights with nobody that we don't have to, right? We won't get into no arguments, and we'll try to unify our people. So far, that's going in our direction. Everybody that was bootlickers, the Saudis was big, but they starting to get along with Iran a little while because they see boss man run off and leave you. He'll leave you in a hurry. So, yeah, everybody come around after a while. That's why we have to be patient. We have to be patient and accepting. So anybody walk through the door, we ready to go, we say, come on, join on up. I ain't no police. We don't care if you was. We don't care who you are, because the wave washes everything, cleans everything up. Are there any questions or anything that about anything that was said? I asked you to overlook my jumping from one subject to another, but if you listen to it on CD or DVD, you'll see that it was all blended together. Yeah, it was all blended together. Okay. No questions, no comments?
While in Vietnam, they used human waste for their fields.
Right.
Those people, they threw nothing away.
Right.
I saw how committed. I knew we couldn't win. This is where my eyes came open concerning Boston.
Right. Yeah. Vietnam, China, they take, I'll throw urine away. They take a bucket of it out and pour it on the stuff, and that's the way, in the future, they're going to change the way they do stuff here. Because like you say, it's waste. They pump all the waste into the ocean. They pump it into the ocean. Okay. Are there any more questions or comments? For Oakland and all that, we're going to push for a negotiated settlement. For Oakland and D.C., we really don't have time. If we have to, we'll do it. To argue with boss man about all this dumb stuff. But we just go for negotiated settlement. That don't mean we're going to negotiate everything away. It's going to be a high charge because he has not been that nice. In fact, boss man has been a bad boy. I have to say that. He's been a bad boy. And a long time. So that's where we are now. If there's no questions or comments, again, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we ask Allah to continue the visible support of us, because nobody could stay here unless they had Allah's support. It just, I haven't seen it, and I wouldn't expect it. And that we keep kindness, optimism, and humor. That we keep that, because we believe that that's been the calling card. Yeah. Nothing like kindness. Nothing like optimism. And all those things that change other people, we thank Allah for allowing us not to be changed by our environment, but for us to have an opportunity to change the environment. Yeah. In other words, the environment haven't made us mad or mean, right? This has made us more confident, because see, look what Allah is doing. And the style that we use, we just make fun of boss man and everybody else. And it's light, he don't like it, but it's a good policy to use. And it's working. It can't, well, it could, but it can't work any better than it's already working. We would be ungrateful if we wanted things to be better than it is. In other words, sure, we got to clean up this and fix that. That's all the normal stuff. But as far as stature. See, because everybody already know who we are. Everybody already, so they're just pretending. Well, I ain't never seen that nigga. I don't know what they're doing. But has anybody been here a while knows everybody around here knows us. Everybody. And even over there and over there, wherever they're at, they know who we are. And they've seen us survive. We've taught the people a lesson that they didn't have the courage or the will to even, or the idea to want to do that. And we've done it. So that part of it, as we evolve into we've done that. We thank Allah for that, because we know the Negro really, just like the old one, they don't know a whole lot, and without Allah, they wouldn't get 2 feet maximum. So, but it's good to tease old boss man. Boss man, we got more sense than you. Boss man, we smart. Oh, boss man, with all that stuff, you're a dummy. Boss man, with 500,000 Negroes, a billion Arabs, and all that, and we still here sitting around laughing. And you didn't use all your high-tech stuff, up in the head, you know what I mean, put the stuff in our food, and we still here laughing. This is a miracle. You have to understand it. Because our people never made it that far. Even if you talk about, what was like the big singer, Showboat, Paul Robeson. By the 60s, they had ran him crazy. They had ran him crazy. They ain't run us crazy, and we just getting started. And we've been at it technically longer than he was. If he was in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and that's just 40 years. We've been doing this for 50 years. And they ain't even touching the crazy house. Well, we may like we crazy, we may play crazy, but it's just to have a good time. So we thank Allah for that. We're very appreciative. And the last thing, we pray for the believers that during this period, see, it's been a long time since the Negro had a chance to, not show off, but to be, like something. And that's the chance the people have now. Because we didn't pull it off. Let me put it like this before I close. We have pulled it off from now backwards. Boss man ain't never scared nobody. Boss man ain't never produced paranoia or discomfort or none of that. And boss man, actually, I was kind of bragging about it to my family, and I was saying it, I said it on the thing here. And right after that, they took my accounts. I told boss, I said, I ain't been broke in 50 years. I had 40 years, something like that. Then they come messing with the accounts. This is a joke. And then after that, I just said the same thing again. And then they, you have money here. They stole that too. It ain't no big deal. Because see, they're depending on something like that because they think that's what you building your house on. That's not the foundation. The foundation is what it's always been. I know it sounds funny. Love, L-O-V, it don't even sound right saying it, but that's where we're coming from. That's why it can't do anything. Optimism, that means anything they do, anything, you're going to turn it around to something beneficial. And that's what we do. That's why all the advice we give about speedboats, about this, about trench warfare and all that, it's always been pretty good because we do study. And this is a thing that they're not comfortable with. A Negro that could study history, battlefield tactics, and hold them in their head and use them. The biggest strategies that they have, evidently they work. Evidently we use them. But with Negro characteristics. With Negro characteristics. Now that's why, because you're a Negro. You have to admit it. You can't sit in the mirror and say, I ain't no Negro. I ain't never seen one. I don't know what they do. You can't do that. You say, boy, look at that Negro. That's a nice Negro. And therefore, we're using the characteristics and the policies that our ancestors would have used if they would have had a chance. And they didn't, so that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to clean up the whole show, and we offer the policy to the rest of those people who appear to be Negroes, if that's what they appear to be. Because this is the first time, like Malcolm said, just because you're at the table don't mean you're a diner. Just because you're in the Masjid praying and telling everybody, it don't mean you're leading nothing. The people in there telling you what to do. None of the Negroes are diners. They're all being manipulated. You see what I'm saying? All the Negroes. None of them are diners but us. They're not. It's not arrogance. It's just saying what it is. We have to be realistic, whether we like it or not. That's the only way you can use what Allah's gifts, is you be sincere. So, if there's no more questions and no more comments, we just like to suggest that everybody, is that C.L. Franklin? C.L. Franklin, and it was, Meaning of Black Power. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.